Democrat Bill Clinton unveils his economic game plan. And a published report says Ross Perot has been investigating President Bush. This is the CBS Evening News. Good evening. Edie Magnus reporting, sitting in tonight for Connie Chung. You have a right to know what I'll do and where I stand. That from Democratic presidential candidate Bill Clinton today, as Clinton unveiled his economic and social agenda for the U.S. Richard Threlkeld has the details.
Good morning. Good morning.
Bill Clinton could be forgiven if he was late for church in Little Rock this morning. He'd been putting the finishing touches on his economic plan, which he revealed today. It's similar to the one he outlined last October, but it reflects some things he's learned while campaigning across the country, namely spending more on America and Americans.
So this is a plan that both reduces the deficit dramatically over the next 4 years, but substantially increases investment, probably the biggest investment program of its kind over 4 years ever offered, at least in modern times.
Clinton plans to invest $50 billion a year in fixing up the nation's infrastructure, reforming welfare, and improving education. He'd provide access to health care for everybody, cut down on medical and insurance costs, but stop short of a federally funded national health care system. He's still supporting a middle-class tax cut, but plans on combining it with a tax credit for families with children to make it less expensive.
It will be much less expensive from the Treasury in the out years and will give us more money to invest in our future.
Clinton also promises to cut the federal deficit in half by cutting government waste and some of the federal payroll and increasing taxes on corporations and the very wealthy. Critics may quarrel with Clinton's arithmetic. It's hard to imagine the country can afford to make major repairs and pay off the federal deficit without a big tax increase, something not mentioned in the Clinton plan. Clinton said he's putting that plan out now to let the country take a look at it before next month's Democratic convention. What he did not say is that he also wanted to get it out on the table now so he can say to Ross Perot, "Here's my idea, Ross. Where's yours?" Edie?
Richard Threlkeld, thanks. A published report today says Ross Perot tried for years to turn up evidence implicating George Bush in unethical conduct. Scott Pelley has a report on that.
Ross Perot's crusade to find missing American POWs in Southeast Asia reportedly led the Texas billionaire to launch a series of private investigations into the conduct of President George Bush. The Washington Post reports today that in the 1980s, Perot came to believe then Vice President Bush had dropped the ball on finding American POWs. Perot apparently started the investigations in an attempt to discredit Mr. Bush. The Post reports that Perot hired law firms to conduct several investigations, which included a probe into real estate deals that Perot suspected could be improper, an inquiry into whether Mr. Bush had suppressed information about POWs, and an investigation into whether Mr. Bush participated in the Iran-Contra scandal. Mr. Bush was never implicated in any wrongdoing. The Post says Perot's investigations came up empty. The president's spokesman, Marlin Fitzwater, told the Post, quote, "It seems to fit a pattern of Perot thinking he can investigate, harass, and intimidate people." Republicans clearly see Perot's history of using private investigations as a prime area of attack.
The way that he has conducted himself on all these private investigations of taking photographs, hiring private eyes, getting involved in personal lives. I've had too many people talk to me about what Ross Perot has done to them personally, individually. This is all going to come out. And when it comes out, the American people will say that type of person should not be president.
There is no indication that Perot did anything illegal or improper. The investigations were largely just searches of the public record. Here in Dallas at the Perot headquarters, a spokesman says the Republicans are trying to use fear to discredit the Perot campaign. The Republicans believe fear is their best weapon, the spokesman said, and they use it against anyone who dares run against them. Edie?
Scott Pelley, thanks. For the fourth time in 48 hours, U.S. track officials today put off attempts to pick the men who'll run the 400 meters in the Summer Olympics. As James Hattori explains, the reason is an off-track legal battle by the entrant with the best chance to win.
He holds the world's record for running 400 meters, but today Butch Reynolds is at the center of a controversy which threatens the U.S. Olympic men's team in that event. Amateur athletic officials postponed until Tuesday the 400-meter semifinals after the Supreme Court ruled this weekend that Reynolds could compete despite having failed a drug test for steroids, a test which Reynolds says was wrong.
So now I had to make the stand. The other athletes didn't understand the issue in hand, but they will benefit from the issue in hand.
His fellow runners don't see it that way. They face a possible 2-year disqualification if they run against him in the Olympic trials under a so-called contamination rule.
I think that he is innocent, but at the same time, the way that he's going about doing this is putting a lot of other athletes in jeopardy. It's more or less a lose-lose situation.
Earlier, nearly all of the 31 other competitors in the quarter-mile event voted to boycott the trials if Reynolds took part. The choice was agonizing: run and face suspension, or don't run and forfeit a shot at the Summer Olympics.
I personally can't afford to run against Butch because I've got meets in Europe. I enjoy track.
Late today, officials said an appeal will be made to let everyone compete without penalty.
He will recommend that council will waive the contamination rule of athletes that might run against Butch.
Officials expect a decision before Tuesday, a decision which will mean the difference between fielding a men's quarter-mile team or a possible no-show in Barcelona. James Hattori, CBS News, New Orleans.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, Boris Yeltsin reaffirms his vow to hunt for possible American POWs in Russia. And Bill Geist undertakes a revealing look at gift apparel for Dad.
If I started serving these, my guys would just find another truck stop. Now, can't you put in some raisins or pecans or blueberries? These flakes need help. These aren't bad at all. They're simple, but the bottom line taste is pretty good. Scratch out what I said before. These are good.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes? I knew it. I really had to go in there, didn't I?
Taste them again for the first time.
For a few short weeks at Red Lobster.
Wait till they taste this.
We're putting together lobster, crab, and shrimp.
This is gonna be really special.
Ordering.
We're cooking to order sweet lobster, succulent shrimp, and Alaskan snow crab, and serving them all together. Don't miss our best combinations ever. They're just for a limited time. So hurry in tonight for lobster, crab, and shrimp.
Only at Red Lobster.
Of all the things around your house that need batteries, there's one thing that needs a good, fresh battery most of all. See your Allstate agent for a free home fire safety brochure. And please, check the battery in your smoke detector often.
South African black nationalist leader Nelson Mandela visited the scene of last week's massacre. And as Mike Sullivan reports, Mandela angrily broke off direct talks on power sharing with the white minority government.
Nelson Mandela today was greeted as a hero in Boipatong. He walked the township's dusty streets to console a community torn by violence, stopping to listen as residents told of the night armed men killed 39 people. Later, Mandela told thousands of supporters the African National Congress was suspending negotiations with the government as he accused President F.W. de Klerk of fanning violence.
De Klerk and his regime bear full responsibility for the violence in the country.
Mandela's reception was in stark contrast to de Klerk's a day earlier. He had tried to enter Boipatong only to be jeered and turned away by angry residents. Soon after de Klerk left, police opened fire on crowds, adding more victims to a growing toll. The incident emphasized the angry mood in black townships.
What is clear is that the regime is conducting a war against us. We can never ignore that.
With negotiations once again on hold, Mandela is under increasing pressure from angry youths who don't want to talk but fight. Mike Sullivan for CBS News, Johannesburg.
Fighting escalated today in the former Soviet Republic of Moldova. Moldovan troops battled ethnic Russian separatists who've declared an independent state. The ethnic Russians claim they are repressed by Moldova's ethnic Romanian majority. Just back from North America, Boris Yeltsin said he might order troops to enter Moldova to protect the ethnic Russians. This would be Russia's first use of force outside its own borders. Yeltsin also referred again to his Washington summit bombshell statement on American POWs. Anthony Mason has more.
Returning to Russia today, Boris Yeltsin renewed his pledge to track any missing Americans that may still be held on Russian soil. Maybe they're still alive here somewhere, he said. We have to find the truth. At the same time, former U.S. Ambassador to Moscow, Malcolm Toon, arrived to lead the American end of the investigation.
But so far, I must be frank with you, we have not seen any evidence that there are any live POWs or MIAs at certain time. But we'll keep giving it a good college try.
Rumors of American survivors in the vast network of Soviet labor camps have circulated for years. I've heard those rumors about foreigners, says Sergei, a prisoner since 1979, but I've never met one. Last week, American investigators looked into an alleged sighting of a Korean war pilot named Markin at this labor camp in Pechora in the Russian far north. The camp commandant gave them a list of 23 prisoners with similar names, but all of them were Soviets.
The investigating team did not discover evidence here of the presence of an American.
During his U.S. visit, President Yeltsin suggested that Soviet leaders covered up the presence of American POWs, but Yeltsin himself may have had political motives.
Mr. Yeltsin badly wanted to discredit Gorbachev in the United States to enhance his own position. And what this suggested was that somehow Gorbachev knew that there were American prisoners in Russia and he didn't tell.
In Pechora and other labor camps, for years, dead prisoners were dumped in mass graves. A lot of secrets are buried here, says this former inmate. A lot of secrets. Even the Russians now acknowledge it will not be easy to uncover them. Anthony Mason, CBS News, Moscow.
The top U.S. official in Vietnam says some 50 experts in 4 separate teams have accelerated the search for American MIAs there. 1,661 Americans are listed as unaccounted for in Vietnam. More than 400 men and women who lost their fathers in the Vietnam War gathered in Washington today. They laid roses in front of the names inscribed on the Vietnam Veterans War Memorial as part of a special Father's Day remembrance.
Everybody needs some money sometime.
To send money fast, call 1-800-CALL-CASH or come to any Western Union location. Western Union, fastest way to send money.
At the first tickly itch of athlete's foot, Desonex. Killing those grungy fungi before they get cracking and burning. Go get that can now, or else don't blame Desonex.
Crystal Light. Drench yourself in a wave of refreshment. Let it wash over you. Feel it inside and out. Crystal Light. Refreshment for body and soul.
Either you give your customer the best possible service, or somebody else will.
We could take you on a vacation you will never forget, but you've got to get through to us first.
AT&T has the most reliable 800 service. It's guaranteed by the 800 assurance policy, and it's designed so that more calls actually get through.
Our 800 service is our front door. If it shuts down, we shut down.
When you consider that every call is a customer, why would you want anything less than AT&T?
We can make a difference. AT&T. Call us.
Did you ever get zapped by a cop with a radar gun?
Well, some cops are saying the guns are zapping them, too. Tonight on 60 Minutes.
There's been a lot of talk about family values in recent weeks, and a lot of attention focused on single mothers. In tonight's Sunday cover, we're shifting the focus to the dads who are going it alone on this Father's Day. Single fathers. We knew them mostly from television. In real life, they were rare. Not so anymore. There are now almost 1.5 million single fathers in America, more than double 10 years ago. Ed Wilson, a Baptist minister in Baltimore, sets a moral example for his community and now for 12-year-old Eddie. This month, 11 years after his divorce, Ed was awarded sole custody of his son.
The way it's supposed to work is the best parent for the job, not respecting sex, should be the person that should have the custody.
While TV's single dads were widowers, today's single fathers are far more likely to be divorced, to have been awarded custody by more even-handed courts.
Beginning in the 1960s and 70s, as more women entered the workplace, fathers became more involved in the home front. And there was a growing recognition that fathers can have nurturing capabilities, too.
Rain Kluzik is a mover in suburban Baltimore. He's divorced and has had sole custody of his son Bridger for 2 years. While things are going well, he says being a single dad can be hard work and at times a little lonely.
Women congregate together and they know where to go, and they have gatherings, and they can take the kids in the strollers to the mall and stuff like that. My friends do guy things. You know.
Kluzik says the demands of fatherhood prevent him from holding an office or factory job with regular hours. Ed Wilson opted for more flexibility, too. He left his catering job to open a carry-out food store. He calls it a mom-and-pop operation without the mom.
Now that I've gained absolute custody of Eddie, I need the time with him. So therefore, I need a job that would allow me to spend time with him so that he could see this form of responsibility in action.
I try to be like him. Don't get no trouble, intelligent manners and all that stuff.
More and more men are finding themselves wrestling with just these kinds of choices.
The whole question of what our role is it to only work and then bring home the money, or do we have a greater role in the family, is a really important question for men to consider.
It's a question many single fathers have already answered for themselves.
My heart would crumble. To be without him, oh no, I couldn't do that. Can't do it, can't do it, no. He means too much.
The number of single dads in America is growing rapidly at 3 times the rate of single mothers. However, single moms still outnumber single fathers by a margin of 7 to 1.
As beneficial as self-examination is, Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years. But she'll discover it tomorrow, after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Over half a century of experience. The finest U.S. choice beef. Naturally aged. Specially trimmed. That's what it takes to earn the WD brand from Winn-Dixie, the beef people.
Imagine a pillowy cushion of softness with every step you take. Dr. Scholl's 2-layer air pillow insoles. 1 layer for shock, 1 for comfort. Dr. Scholl's. You'll feel better when the doctor is in.
Your rugged routine, day after day. It's even harder when athlete's foot routinely comes back. Get prescription strength Lotrimin AF. It kills all causes of athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF, the finish line for athlete's foot.
The campaigns are winding up for Tuesday's parliamentary elections in Israel. While the stakes are high, there's nothing novel about the main rivals or their views on the issues. Bob Simon explains.
It is the last duel between gladiators of the old guard. The two Itzhaks, Shamir and Rabin, combined age 145. Both familiar faces in Israeli public life since before the creation of the state. They agree that the issue is the future of the occupied territories, the shape of peace. They both support the Madrid peace talks and autonomy for Palestinians. They both oppose a Palestinian state. Rabin is more flexible about the talks and the territories, but neither is offering Israelis a radical change of course.
Everybody wants someone who won't rock the boat, and that's exactly what the two parties are, and that's what the two parties offer.
How are the parties playing? Well, Israel's Peoria is the central market of Tel Aviv. Running the gauntlet from the smoked fish to the tomatoes tests a candidate's mettle. They all come. The merchants are staunch right-wingers, Likud voters. The shoppers may be looking for change. The most popular man in the market is still Menachem Begin, who died last March. But the battle cry lives on, as does his son and political heir, Benjamin.
We feel that we are faced with crucial dilemmas that touch upon the very ability of a Jewish state to exist.
They were still shouting Begin when Avram Burg, a leading labor candidate, came by. He courted the hecklers and came out declaring victory.
People are open. People asking questions. In comparison to the last time, the people just shouted. Were closed and shouted, and that's it.
In America, a walk through a market would be a photo opportunity. Here, it's real campaigning. And that's not the only difference. In the States, you don't see religious leaders doubling as political leaders. Here they wield enormous power and are often in their 90s. In the States, you don't have a communist party on the ballot or small parties like the taxi drivers or the meditators. Even with old issues and familiar faces, the turnout is expected to be 80%. But voting patterns are so deeply entrenched here that polls indicate the most likely result will be a standoff, meaning some form of unity government led by Itzhak Shamir and Itzhak Rabin. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
In New York City, questions are being raised about the government's prosecution of reputed mob boss John Gotti. As Regina Blakely reports, some jurors in the case are speaking out.
For the second time in a week and just 2 days before John Gotti is supposed to be sentenced, a juror has come forward alleging pressure by government prosecutors to bring a guilty verdict against the former Gambino family boss.
Honestly, deep down inside my heart, my mind wasn't where I believe it should have been at that time.
Requesting anonymity, the juror told WCBS correspondent Mary Murphy he was not paid for coming forward. In response, U.S. Attorney Andrew Maloney said any such statements would be inconsistent with what jurors told the judge before deliberations. Evidence of a conspiracy by the mafia to pay off jurors in other Gotti cases has resulted in an indictment against one jury foreman. This led the judge to not only sequester this jury, but keep their identities a secret. Gotti's lawyers claim this created an atmosphere which made it impossible for Gotti to get a fair trial and is the basis of an appeal. Gotti was found guilty April 2nd of murder, racketeering, tax evasion, and other crimes. Gotti had escaped prosecution 3 times, garnering him the name Teflon Don.
If you stop the average person on the street and say, tell me the one person who to you represents the very essence of mafia, I would say John Gotti.
Gotti seized control of the Gambino family in 1985 after the murder of then-boss Paul Castellano. It was one of Gotti's closest associates and heir apparent, Sammy the Bull Gravano, who testified that Gotti ordered Castellano's murder and watched as Castellano was gunned down outside a New York City steakhouse. Hours of secretly recorded tapes in and around Gotti's headquarters helped to bring down the Don. In a previously scheduled hearing, Gotti's attorneys will go before the district court tomorrow, requesting the judge to set aside the guilty verdicts. Gotti says he will take whatever steps necessary to keep from spending the rest of his life in jail. Regina Blakely, CBS News, New York.
Of 144 different import and domestic cars, only the elite make J.D. Power and Associates' top 10 models an initial quality list. That list now includes the Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. We believe it reflects the commitment of the people who make it and the dealers who sell it, as well as the wisdom of the people who bought it. Cutlass Sierra from Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering.
Who are you going to call the most this month?
I'd probably call my mother the most.
My mother.
My mother.
With Sprint's new program, The Most, you'll automatically save on whoever you call the most each month.
My mother in Kansas.
My mother, because she worries.
You'll also save every time you call one of the millions of other Sprint customers.
My mother in Montana.
My mom.
I call my mother in Brooklyn, New York.
Doesn't anyone around here ever call their father?
When Batman's arch enemy, the Penguin, reserves a room at any choice hotel, like Quality, Comfort, Clarion and Sleep, or Econolodge, Roadway and Friendship, he doesn't get to stay free. But his kids do. Kids 18 and under stay free at any of the 7 brands in the Choice Hotels family. Call 1-800-4CHOICE today.
Finally, tonight we take the wraps off one of the hottest gifts for Dad on this Father's Day. Our Bill Geist did a little undercover work, and he has a brief report.
Lately, men's underwear has gone from that government issue look to a canvas of personal expression.
$1.6 billion will be spent on men's underwear this year, much of it in these last few days before Father's Day, on wild silk boxers, racy polka dot briefs, and high-cut bikinis for Dad.
Whatever happened to ties and power tools? I mean, women and children are buying this stuff. Briefs, briefer, briefest. They should probably warn consumers that the products pictured may appear somewhat different on the guys back home. These are not Dads.
Think Mom would like me in these? Maybe.
Studies show that women buy about 70% of men's underwear. Are the men wearing it?
Occasionally wear pink when I feel sexy on a given day. I prefer a smaller brief, something that hugs the buns well, and keeps you comfortable.
And what does he wear?
Well, I don't wear underwear.
Underwear is not only to be seen these days, but exhibited. This is a retrospective of men's underwear at the Fashion Institute of Technology. Richard Martin is curator.
And it's a fascinating story of technology, and the whole history of men's underwear is really almost a kind of engineering story.
Indeed, the history of underpants is endlessly fascinating, as students of underpants can attest.
I'm Jim Palmer, and jockey has always made me feel so comfortable.
Hall of Fame pitcher Jim Palmer is also part of underpants history.
I feel better about myself when I go in and get a pair of colorful underwear. It's just something that, might be a peculiar nature of me, but basically, I think it has a lot to do with self-image.
These aren't Dads.
Underwear is getting so flashy that people are starting to wear it on the outside. Batman does.
What do you think, Dad? That's the news. I'm Edie Magnus in New York. I'll see you again later on the CBS Sunday Night News, where I'll be sitting in for Bill Plant. Good night.
Like a stick of political dynamite, he's exploded every assumption about Campaign 92. Meet the man behind the mania. A week-long series of reports begins tomorrow on the CBS Evening News. This is CBS.